Mr. Gates, lovely to meet you. Welcome to Business Insider.
Thank you, Mark.
And we won't subject you to too much pain, I hope. The opportunity to talk to the CEO of the Business Enterprise Centre is appropriate because you are charged with a significant task on the Central Coast. I was going to say you're supported by an incredibly astute board, but we won't go there.
Some self-interest in that?
No self-interest. Tell me about the BiUC and what you see as its role on the Central Coast.
Yeah, so the BiUC, 12 years in, is an organisation that is funded to assist small business. Now, that has quite a varied task. Small business tends to be a very lonely place to be. And we go anywhere from startup businesses that come in looking for, I've been in business in the sense of I've worked in a corporate or I've worked in something and I've got this technical skill. Mm-hmm. Now I want to start a business. It can be I'm in a business but I've got some challenges or I've got some thoughts, what do I do with that? To, hey, I'm in trouble. The GFC's hit. Classic example we're all topical on at the moment, and things have gone quite out of my control. Because everything in business is not always in your control, even though we like to think it is. And what do I do with that? How do I manage that? Can I get out of it? Can't I? Or I'm exiting the business of my own choice. So it's now time for me to leave, and how do I look at selling this business or what do I do with it as a handover process moving forward? So that essentially is the broad charter of how we see ourselves helping small business.
Do you see a big enough percentage of small businesses on the coast, do you think, or?
I don't think we see a big enough percentage. I mean, so there's certainly a level of business. To give you an idea, we probably have about between 500 to 800 unique businesses. About 300 of those will be startups. There's 20,000 small businesses on the Central Coast. So when you look at the percentage mix, there's a very, very big proportion out there that obviously are just moving along under their own steam.
And you run courses as well?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we've got workshops. So we work on basically a lot of that entry-level skills. So if you want to understand a P&L or how to market, we've got a series of how to plan, essential one that typically gets forgotten when you're working in your business. So we have a series of workshops that cover those areas of where they go. More recently, we've actually moved into some more technical workshops where we've been able to go and put together things on online trading. So online trading, not really, but there is e-commerce versus the stock market was where my head was going.
Actually, it's just gone down a fraction but come back.
It has.
Yes,
so in that, we've been able to go with a little bit more of specific skills that small business don't have the experience or technicalities in. It's a very technical, what sort of website, how it functions, what do I do with Twitter, what do I do with Facebook, all these things that a small business isn't resourced with. You don't have an IT department or someone that specialises in marketing. How do I understand these new concepts and how I put them in a mix? So we have workshops that help develop those arenas as well. And it's been quite fruitful. Certainly when you get into those new areas, the attendance has been phenomenal.
When it comes to, I guess, addressing some of those issues, the market drives them in terms of what they need to see. Again, is it up to, you've got facilitators to measure where the market's going? Obviously you're out in the marketplace.
Yes.
How do you encourage the market to come to you, I guess? Can they just pick up a phone and call, or?
Yeah, they can. We do your mainline advertising, so we've got the papers, the radio, and we're also on social media helping people make aware, but the majority of our referrals are word of mouth. We did a recent survey and 96% of the people that came through said that they would refer our services to family or friends or other businesses. And so that's a big part. How do you engender that? How do you encourage that? I guess we focus on if we give them the relevant and right experience, then obviously that flows out into the community, because it is a community. The small business, unlike you think of big business just being small business is community, and they're immersed in the community, and they are a community in how they work together as well, and we're part of that community.
With this next 12 months, who knows what that's going to bring, but what do you think, what are the issues that the BiUC and the Central Coast will face?
Yeah. I think the Central Coast is, I guess in one sense, growing up in business. We now have some significant business parks around. We've got the one here in Erina, we've got a major one up at Tuggerah. That's providing a hub for businesses to actually start working through, and I think that's an evolution for the Central Coast. You know, if we look at the next year and beyond, job creation obviously is the hot topic and essential for the coast in order to, you know, you've got out of 100,000 workforce, 35,000 travelling to Sydney. How do you get more of that up here, which again envelops more of our community? We've got to find a way to create jobs. So the challenge for us is how do we accelerate small business? That's what I believe our core value we add is how do we accelerate a small business so that they can create jobs and wealth for the economy.
How
during
do
that
you
process.
that? If that's the charter for the BiUC,
Yeah.
what do you do? Just meet more people, go out, or?
Yeah, I think you can meet more people, but I think when you talk with businesses, you know, there are businesses in it for a lifestyle. People come into business for many different reasons. Some have an idea and they want to grow and take over the world. Some go in for a lifestyle balance because they've been working in corporate in Sydney or whatever the case may be. And some just go in via necessity, i.e. I've been made redundant or whatever. There are different motivators why people go into business. And for us, it's knowing that, working with that, and then helping each one of those get established as quick as they can. So for instance, we have many clients that come in, like myself actually, who have lived on the coast but worked in Sydney their whole life. They have no business network. And they have no idea how to establish that network on the coast. And so we'll introduce them to here's some graphic designers, and we'll give a referral of a few people. You know, so here's a bunch of graphic designers. Here's some people that can look on other aspects for what you're doing, depending on the industry they're in. So we can help them develop a network. We can show them the networking events that are going, and we can give them other referral sources that just help them go, yeah, okay, now I know what I can do. I feel a bit more confident. That speeds it up for them. You know. That's just one example.
Yeah, okay. We give everyone that Business Insider who gives their time so freely to have a rant for 60 seconds on something that may get up your nose. What would you choose to rant on?
What would I rant on? I think I would rant on the way that society undervalues small business. Yeah, I really believe they're the backbone of our community. If you look at the sports, if you look at charities, if you look at all the involvements that go on in our communities, they're predominantly small business. You know, big business tends to have, you know, perceived larger workforce, but in reality, they employ less people per revenue source per square metre than small business do. And I think that we don't acknowledge that. I really get passionate when I just see the contempt. I think that, you know, politicians and even to a certain degree other business people treat small business with, because it's a little, they're diverse, they're small, and there's lots of them. So they're hard. They're hard to get to. They're hard to focus on. They don't tend to come together as a united voice because they don't have that avenue. You know, the chambers do a wonderful job of trying to pull that together, but even there, they sort of almost represent the upper end of small business. And I think that we as a society don't value what that means, and unfortunately tend to, because it's easier, support the larger businesses, which have their place, by the way, but that's
Does the BiUC have an opportunity to be that vocal, that voice for them? Is that?
I'd like to believe so. I think the recent survey we've done has shown the advantages of small business and how they can grow in the areas where they can go, and I really see that's part of, I sort of touched on before, I see us as part of that community. But I do see us as, you know, when we can be effective, that we are a voice, not from a political viewpoint, but a place where if you want to know about small business and understand what they need, where they're going, and the challenges they face, well, we know that because we're there across, you know, we represent the breadth. You know, we're not an association. We don't have an agenda to
A political alliance.
Yeah, we don't want to have more guns out there or more, you know, four-wheel drive tracks. We represent every single area. You know, when you look at our mix of clients, it actually represents the mix of small business. You know, so you've got trades, you've got retail, you've got business-to-business services, and the other aspects, tourism. You know, they're all coming to us for help.
Excellent. An opportunity to maybe request inquiry from potential mentors. Now, you offer a mentor service through
Yes.
the BiUC.
Yes, I do. And I think that's one right now coming through the door.
It could easily be someone coming through, or the next interview. You offer mentor services. Are there opportunities for smart, engaged business people to become mentors? And what should they do about it?
Certainly is. I mean, to say it's an exciting win-win situation in mentoring, for the mentor as well as for the participant that's looking at going. And we're on the lookout, you know, and we're calling for mentors, especially that have unique skills that can help those small businesses, so they don't have to walk alone. That's what mentoring is really about. It's about helping someone not walk alone. And I like to say, put an old head on young shoulders, I guess, in one sense. You know, these businesses are passionate and they know their product. They don't always know the whole journey because they're in it. Having someone out of it. So if there are people out there that feel that that's something they can do, it's a very fulfilling experience.
And they should just contact
the BiUC, you know, through our website, which is www.ccbiuc.org.au.
The concept of clusters,
Yes.
on the Central Coast. Well, the concept of clusters,
Yes.
and bringing them to the Central Coast.
Yes.
You and I have talked about
Yep.
the possibility.
Yep.
They get close and then they fall over. What has to be done, and who has to take responsibility for those?
I think clusters have many different purposes, and I think that's part of what you've got to look at. There is a new cluster being pulled together in manufacturing on the coast, and that's getting a little bit, it's very early days, it's getting ahead of steam. We've got small business clusters that are more like small business working like a mini board, so, you know, 10 to 8 people. The challenge with clusters is people need to see the value. They're busy, you know, they're working, you know, small business work extreme hours, then they've got family stuff to do at home or whatever. You know, you're asking them to give up time to come together for something. I think there's great value in clusters, but you've got to be able to deliver that and demonstrate that rather than just coming together for a lobbying purpose. You know, people need to get outcomes and solutions to what they're doing. You know, it's almost like a longer term. So when you look at a business, you have a longer term goal of where you want to head, but you've got to have little wins along the way. Otherwise, you lose momentum and enthusiasm. And clusters need to be able to deliver the same. A common purpose. People come together. I think there's a series of people on the coast. The RDA is certainly one area for that. You've got ourselves, obviously, that are pulling together from a business perspective. How do you grow your business type smaller clusters? But there are other avenues for clusters as well, where people can have a like mind to get an outcome. It's a great opportunity when you get that balance.
Yeah. But what I like about the manufacturing cluster is, while they've battled through several iterations of it,
Yes.
they now have an economy mindset that says, okay, well, we've got 5 or 6 members, I think. Let's not have duplication amongst those members, but let's share the role of managing this group amongst those 6 members. And I think there's probably perhaps a model there that others can learn from.
And one of the new things on the coast is obviously a lot of the lead agencies, so the New South Wales Business Chamber, ourselves at the BiUC, the state government, INI, RDA, we all get together now regularly once a month to talk through what's going and how do we actually work through initiatives that aren't overlapping. How do we complement and support? And I think that's another part of when you look at the coast and where we're heading. I think that's a great initiative as well that's going to lead towards how do we actually, in uniformity, create that business environment.
I think we've just all got to push and say we will have 3 or 4 major clusters.
Sure, absolutely.
And even if it's one for New South Wales Business Chamber, or they'll probably lay claim. And they've done, and they've supported the manufacturers. But I think we've got to, as business people, choose where we want to have them and say it's going to happen.
But one of the key things about them, and if you look at the manufacturing cluster, you've got Frank Samet. You need a champion. If you find a champion who's passionate about that, then a cluster will go and it will work. If you don't have a champion, if you're just coming together as a group of people, that's where I see them falling. So we need to find those champions, I guess, really is the answer to that.
That's cool. A good answer. Thanks again.
Welcome.
Okay.